Are the Mariners peaking too early? Who do we trust most in the bullpen? And what is the long-term outlook for Dominic Canzone in Seattle? We'll answer all of that and more about your first place Seattle Mariners coming up here on Mailbag Monday. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Monday, August 28th, 2023. This is Trident Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Subscribe, like, and turn on alerts if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe and leave a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform if you like what you hear. And if you're part of the crew and rock with us every single day, let us know in the comments below. And if you want to hear from us even more, please consider signing up for our Patreon. You can now get a free 7-day trial to check out the show. The link, as well as our social accounts, is in the description of this episode. It is Mailbag Monday, the show where we answer your Mariners questions. We're going to start here with Mudcat Grant, who wants to know, plain and simple, are the M's peaking too early? Given with their start, they needed to peak when they did to make the playoffs. Just worry it will be hard to carry momentum long enough for a World Series run. Colby, first of all, welcome back. I know there are a lot of people that are very excited to see your face. Secondly, what do you think?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for welcoming me back. Nobody can Wally pit me because I am Lou Gehrig. I don't know if I would agree with the premise of the question that the Mariners are peaking. Because peaking seems to imply that like they're playing out of their minds right now. And I don't really think they are. I think they're playing to the talent level that they've had and always have had. It took longer to get there than we like. And it does happen to coincide with them playing some pretty bad teams over the last few weeks. So, I think peaking implies that they can't like sustain this level of play. Now, I think it's fair to say, can they sustain like this win percentage that they've had over the last 20? No, probably not, but that's because no team is that good. But the fact that they're playing this well, I think is sustainable. And because they're playing this well, and in a stretch of the schedule where they're playing bad teams, it's not surprising that they've rattled off this, incredible stretch here. So I don't know if they're just I don't know if they're peaking or they're just a really good team playing really good ball against really bad teams. So I don't know if that's a peak or if it's just kind of, a little bit inflated because of who they're playing, but they're just playing good ball. And I think this is a team that can play good baseball. They've got 32 games left, I believe it is. So would it surprise anybody if they won 95 games based on how they're playing? No. And 95 win teams can go on stretches like this against these soft teams all the time. So I don't know if they're peaking or not. I really don't know if they are. I think they could just be playing really good baseball against really bad teams.
I think the insane results are unsustainable, but the level of play is sustainable, right? They're not going to maintain a 850 win percentage over the final 32 games or whatever it is. I would love to see them try, though. It would be awesome, but it would make that last week plus at the end of the season a lot less stressful. But Julio recently has made the emphasis on multiple occasions to say, we're not hot, we're just good, we're playing good baseball. And I agree with that, because we had said a lot when they were really struggling to escape 500 that they're too talented for this. They are way too talented for this. And the fact that they were able to maintain a 500 record despite all of the things that went wrong for them, how much it just rained what on them for most of the season, I think that says a lot about the talent on this roster in general, and that we're now just seeing that come to fruition with this stretch that they're on. So September's probably not going to look anything like this, but I think they're more than capable of having another successful month, and they're more than capable of winning the division and really doing whatever they want in the playoffs, just like we thought before the season began. It just took a very long time for us to get to this point, but this is essentially the team, right? Again, obviously the results are insane, but this is the level of play that I think we all expected, or at least Colby and I expected when we were talking about this team in the months leading up to the season. So, Next question here comes from Brad. With Teo's current production, should the M's again consider giving him the qualifying offer? This has been an up and down question all year, I feel like, but on the whole, I think it would be a good idea. I've said yes, I've said no, I've said it so many times here. I don't know, man. I really don't know at this point. Teo's had such a weird season. He's had 2 amazing months, and then the other 3 months or however many it is have been league average at best. So I have no clue. What do you think, Colby?
I think at this stage I'm a no, because when you look at the overall numbers, it's a 107 WRC plus. I think he's sitting at right now. It's not that hard to go find a corner outfielder who can put up a 107 WRC plus. Those guys are everywhere. So to me, to risk the $20 million hit, you pretty much have to think that he's obviously not what he's been in August. I think he's putting up like a 170 WRC plus this month or something like that. But you kind of have to believe that he is what he was at least last year and what he was the year before that, which is a 125 to 130 WRC plus guy. Can he do enough over these last 5 weeks to make me think that? Probably not. Maybe. I mean, we'll see. You don't want to write off any possibility, but I don't think so. The defense has been a little bit better than we expected, but has certainly, regressed a little bit back towards the mean. And this is the second year in a row where we're kind of, I don't want to say making excuses for him, but it's the second year in a row where he's going to, lose about 10% of offense. The strikeouts are going up, the walks are going down. Like, this could be a bat that's trending in the wrong direction. He's on the wrong side of 30 now. I don't know. I don't know if you want to take that risk. It's roster construction wise, it would be a very limited risk because it's 1 year and whatever. Yeah. If he took it, that is. But again, if they put 20 million into Teo, what are they not putting 20 million into? Because I don't trust John Stanton yet to just be like, oh, well, yeah, no, that's fine. Just keep on adding, keep on spending more than that. So I would lean no right now. I don't foresee anything that I think you're open to like an extension. I think maybe he let him test the market. And if he wants to come back at 2 and 30 to something like that, maybe I'm interested in that. I don't think he's done enough yet for me to feel comfortable. And honestly, I think you slap the qualifying offer on him, he probably takes it because I don't think he's going to get $50 million based on what we've seen so far. Maybe that changes over the last 5 weeks, but
if his overall numbers pretty much stay where they are right now, I don't foresee him getting a massive contract. Now, let's keep in mind here that the hitting market is going to be poor, and that's being generous about it once we get to free agency. So maybe because of just the lack of other talent around him on the market, he does get a deal like that. Maybe he does get 2 to 3 years, but I have a hard time seeing it with these numbers. With Teo, I need to see this more evenly spread out over the course of a full season. I don't need 2 boom months and then 4 bust months. Like, that doesn't do a whole lot for me because I never know when I'm going to get good Teo. Right. So if I can go get something that's a bit more dependable, maybe doesn't have as much of the upside that Teoscar Hernandez does when he's at his best, but gives me more of an evenly spread out production over the course of a full season for, maybe $7 million less than that, per season, and maybe gives me a path to a longer term option, then I'm probably going with that over Teo personally. But like Colby said, a lot could change. And, for the rest of the regular season and into the postseason, maybe Teo continues to hit like this for the rest of the regular season and has great postseason. Maybe he's a big part of a World Series run. Who knows? And maybe that changes a lot of our perception of him and where we think he kind of fits into this whole thing. So I'm open-minded to that. But right now, as things currently stand, I don't know. I don't know, because I don't know if he's just going to fall off a cliff again. I just don't really trust him right now. All right. We got more questions coming up here in just a moment, but first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Dave. No, not Sims or Niehaus. Dave is the banking app that's leaving the financial field. Now, one time or another, we've all needed a little financial help. That's why Dave is great. Dave can get you cash between paychecks and can help you build credit by settling extra cash advances on time. When you download Dave, you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fees. It's part of Dave's extra cash account. Advance the money you need with no interest and then settle up later. So if you're in a pinch, get the help you need by downloading Dave. Download Dave today at dave.com/MLB. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/illegal. Eligibility criteria and instant transfer fees apply. Banking services provided by Evolve, member FDIC. That's dave.com/MLB. You can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fees. Download the Dave app now or go to dave.com/MLB. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you again for making us your first listen here on Mailbag Monday. We're answering your Mariners questions about your first place Seattle Mariners, folks. Your first place Seattle Mariners. And those first place Seattle Mariners are facing the last place Oakland Athletics starting tonight. You can catch all the action on the Mariners hometown broadcast with SiriusXM via the SXM app. Before we get back into these questions here, Colby, first place Seattle Mariners. How does that sound, man? Here comes the
Like it's August 28th.
Predictable. So predictable.
No. Sounds good. Certainly sounds better than first place Texas Rangers, that's for sure. Those frauds.
Got that right. You got that right.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the Twins who really didn't do anything to win that game. It was mostly Jonathan Hernandez's terrible control that won that game for the Twins, but we will take it. So thank you, Minnesota. All right, let's get back into these questions here. Tyson wants to know, I'm a huge fan of Dave Sims, but he does seem to be a bit polarizing. Who would you say is his MLB player comp, factoring in his polarization and where he ranks for you guys compared to other play-by-play guys? He's kind of Teoscar Hernandez. Like, he's got a 6 RBI, 2 home run game in him, like last night in the 9th or yesterday afternoon in the 9th. But then he's got, some weird routes on fly balls that he'll take. Like, he's kind of Teo.
Yeah. First of all, who listens to other play-by-play broadcasts? You guys losers? I don't have anyone to compare to him on that front. Yeah, I'm gonna go listen to the Cardinals broadcast just to compare him to Dave Sims. Why? Like, who does that? I don't know. He's kind of like Dylan Moore sometimes. Like, the swing is just terrible, and like he has just awful at bats, and you're just like, what are you looking at? Like, what are you doing? And then he'll hit, a grand slam against whoever, Brooks Raley, whoever it was, and you're just like, oh, okay, well, he got me there. So yeah, I think Sims is like a moment guy. Gus Johnson is like a play-by-play guy who, like, I personally, I don't really love his play-by-play, but when that big play happens, like that huge moment, he gets amped up and like he brings
Gus is elite.
Yeah, like you want Gus calling moments. You don't want him calling games. Dave is kind of the same way. You want Dave to call moments. You don't want Dave to call an entire game. And honestly, I don't mind Dave calling a game. Like, I know a lot of people don't like him, which I don't get. Like, I mean, yeah.
He needs the right partner. He needs the right partner in the booth. For me, that's Blowers. Blowers helps him a lot. And we've seen him without Blowers a lot. I mean, he's been with Goldie, and Goldie's been good, but that's 2 play-by-play guys together. So that's a little bit awkward in general. I don't enjoy the broadcast with Sims and Ryan Rowland-Smith personally. I don't.
No.
I don't think they play off each other well. I don't think that's a good tandem. I think the best tandem that the Mariners have is Goldie and Blowers. I don't think that there's even anything close to that, really. Like, at least on the TV side of things.
Yep.
But yeah,
Sims is fine. Like, I don't get people who are like, oh, I hate broadcasters. They completely take me out of the game. I don't think you like the game then. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like,
I also think people are a little too hard on Simsy in general.
Yeah, like I get the meme, like, oh yeah, there's a high fly ball deep to left field caught by the shortstop. Like, haha. Yeah, I get it. He has bad depth perception, although he nailed the Canzone call yesterday. Totally shocked because I thought it was gone. And then he's like, I think he got off the end of the bat, and it's caught at the warning track. And it's like, oh, good call. So Yeah, Dave is a moments guy. He's not like a 9-inning take you home type of guy, and that's fine. That's totally fine. And again, if like he's so bad that it ruins the game experience for you, I guess watch the game on mute or just shut up. Like deal with it. Grow
Also,
up.
some of his bad calls are funny. Like there's some value to those. Like hey Lloyd, do some delivery. Like that whole call is amazing. That is a legendary call. It is terrible, but it is legendary. Like
yes, so, we stand Dave Sims on this show.
We do. We love Simsy. Would love to get him on the show sometime. Jack wants to know, who do you trust in this bullpen going forward? Justin Topa, end of list. Yeah. It's like, I love Matt Brash. I love Andres Munoz. I love Gabe Spire. But
apparently you don't love Taylor Saucedo.
I love Sauce too. I love Sauce.
Apparently not. Luke Weaver. Obviously.
I also love Thanksgiving. Throwback for hardly anyone's gonna get that reference now because that's from the early days. I'm gonna have to put people on game with that.
Obviously Luke Weaver, trust with your entire chest. Yeah, it's Topa right now is like the guy that you feel best about. And then if it was Andres Munoz like last night or like yesterday, like we got that guy every time. I mean, obviously nobody would ever get hit off of him again, but like, yeah, I like that guy. And I still mostly trust Brash. It's just kind of like I trust him with a 1-run lead more than I trust him with a 2-run lead, as weird as that sounds. I just feel like, if he's up 2, he'll give up the solo shot or he'll walk, hit, BAPIB, and then he'll strike out the next 2 guys. And you're just like, oh, well, not exactly what you want. But yeah, Topa's definitely the most trustworthy guy. But yeah, he's not the best. So there's some concerns about the bullpen, which, goes back to the trade deadline. And not that they shouldn't have traded Paul Sewell, just that they should have added more. They should have replaced him. And they didn't.
They shouldn't have been like, Trent Thornton and Edward Bizardo.
Yeah, like we got this. Yeah, we're gonna give Trent Thornton the ball in the 10th inning and see what happens. Like, nope, that should never be a sentence that anybody says.
Yeah,
but there you go. So
if Trent Thornton was like Isaiah Campbell, what Isaiah Campbell is doing right now in this bullpen, I feel a little bit better about that.
I mean, I don't feel great about Campbell either. Like,
no. I'm just saying the role, which is like, we'll use you from time to time, like when we need you.
Yeah, you shouldn't have guys in your bullpen, by the way, where you're just like, oh, we're up by 5. Now's the only time we can use you. Like,
right.
No,
like Bizardo, like what they were doing with Bizardo. Yeah.
Like Chris Flexen, like the Mariners are a team who loves to have like as many pitchers on their roster as they can, but they don't need to because they don't use, there's always one guy in the pen that they will not use unless it's a blowout. And it's like, that's a waste of a spot. Like, so yeah, it's Topa and then probably Brash and then Spire Munoz for the moment.
Yeah.
Like Andres is just, yesterday was great. The time before that was not very good. His arm slot is dropping quickly, by the way. I don't know if you noticed it. He looks sidearm to me now.
So I was talking to Ben about that after the show yesterday. Like I looked at the side by side. There's a couple where he's at his normal slot yesterday, like the backdoor slider for the last strike. It was just his normal arm slot. But then there's a couple where, it's a bit lower. So I don't know if it's just a repeatability issue there. I don't know if it's something that he's consciously doing. I don't know.
You can't throw your fastball and your slider out of 2 vastly different arm slots. Like, that's a tell. And especially if you're only throwing 97, 98, like not 101, it's, I don't know. There's something up with Munoz. I don't know if it's just mechanical or if he's compensating for an injury somewhere else, but like, I don't know. I don't quite trust it yet, but that night was good, Andres. And that's one of the funnest guys to watch in baseball. So,
and again, that Dave Sims call was elite.
Yep. Good vibes at the ballpark, good atmosphere. So Mariners fans are feeling it. And if Brash and Munoz can get to their like 90th percentile the rest of the way out, it's a very dangerous bullpen.
Next question here comes from CJ. Who other than Julio will be the biggest impact on the Mariners winning the West / securing a wild card spot? I think it's Matt Brash and Andres Munoz, honestly, because you're going to be playing some close games, especially in those Astros and Rangers series, which could determine your playoff lives. I mean, we'll see what happens here with the Blue Jays and the Red Sox, but definitely will, have an impact on seeding and have an impact on your division chances for sure. So yeah, as far as the AL West goes, it's going to be Munoz, it's going to be Brash, and those two guys are going to be key X factors for October as well for the playoffs.
Yeah, it's just the bullpen as a whole. Starting pitching, you feel good about. Maybe they'll lay a couple duds in there. It's always possible, but feel good about that. The lineup is certainly longer than it has been in a couple years, at least. Just 1 through 9. Like, it used to be that you had like 5 guys trying to carry the load for like 9 spots in the lineup. Now it's like you have 12 guys carrying the load for 9 spots in the lineup, right? Because now you can use Dylan Moore and Caballero. They can give you good at-bats. You can use Canzone and Rojas. They get added in. Cal Raleigh's turned things around. Tom Murphy, hopefully back in the next week or two. So it feels like it's just a deep lineup that they can do some things at the late in games. So I don't think anybody in the lineup is the correct answer because everybody's kind of carrying that. So I would say it's the bullpen. It's the guys in the back end. So, yep.
All right. We got a few more questions to go over here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. But first, a reminder, this episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Want the chance to win more money with less picks? Head on over to Sleeper, where you can win up to 100 times your money. Just 2 or more fantasy baseball picks. All you have to do is choose 2 or more players that you like and select more or less on their stats like home runs, strikeouts, hits, and more. Get your picks right and you could win big. Making your picks is easy and takes only 30 seconds or less. And if you win, you can withdraw your payouts safe and quickly. Use promo code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON. And you'll get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. It's currently operational in over 30 states. Check out Sleeper today. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you again for making us your first listen here on Mailbag Monday as we answer questions about your first place Seattle Mariners. We're taking on the Oakland Athletics tonight. You can catch all the action on the Mariners hometown broadcast with SiriusXM via the SXM app. We got 3 more questions to go here on Mailbag Monday. This one comes from Jake. Do you think that Luis Castillo or George Kirby will win the Cy Young? As of today, they are at the top of the WHIP leaderboard. So that is walks and hits per innings pitched for those that don't know. They're having really good years. I still think it's going to be Kevin Gausman and Garrett Cole, though.
Yep. 0% chance they win.
And look, I get, Cole's on a bad Yankees team, but
He's
we
Garrett
really
Cole.
We really think national media is going to care about that. It's still New York. It's still the Yankees. And you know what they're going to say? Well, in spite of that team being an absolute dumpster fire, Garrett Cole was still amazing, and especially in a hitter-friendly ballpark. Yeah, I think it's going to be Garrett Cole.
Should be Gausman.
Yeah, Kirby's right there, though, man. Like, if you look at Kirby's numbers, he just doesn't have the strikeouts. That's the big part.
That's
and
the
Gausman
huge part.
And Gausman has the strikeouts, right? I think it's like a 3 strikeout per 9 difference between those two guys. Yeah, it's a pretty large gap.
I would say I expect Kirby and Castillo, assuming they finish the year relatively strong. I mean, we get that Luis Castillo we saw yesterday like 12 more times this year. That would be amazing. Yeah. I think, they probably finish. I bet Castillo is like 5th or 6th. And Kirby probably finishes 8, 9, 10, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
I think that's I think, I like Ty and I, may or may not have placed a wager on George Kirby winning the Cy Young this year.
We did. Oh.
And I want to say this. I don't think we're wrong. I just think we were a little early. So
next year for sure.
Yep. Doubling down. But no, they're not going to win it. And honestly, they probably should. Like it should be Gausman. Cole's been a little bit better. Framber's had a really good year as well. Had a couple rough starts recently, so maybe that's knocked him out of the race. But I think 3rd is the absolute highest I could see either of them finishing. But I think more likely they're both going to be somewhere in that 5 to 10 range.
I need Jorge to throw like 4 complete game shutouts here before the end of the year, and then I'll be $2,500 richer.
It's not like anything's riding on it per se, but if he doesn't, you might not see me in November. Just Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But no,
We're going
I think
to Vegas, baby.
I think they're both going to finish somewhere 5 through 10, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next question here comes from Brett. With several more great plays in the final game against Kansas City, Eugenio Suarez has been putting together a really impressive defensive season. When/if does he get national recognition and maybe a Gold Glove? Do you guys think he's been that good? I do agree that he has been that good. Yesterday was just another example of how good he has been, especially on that near double play that he had in the 8th, which, I mean, if he doesn't make that play, that's probably a tied game.
Yep.
And, we see, how the rest of that goes. I think he has a good chance, especially now with the context of Matt Chapman's injury, because Matt Chapman, I don't know how many of you have seen it, but Matt Chapman landed on the IL today with a middle finger injury. It's something that he hurt while working out a couple of weeks ago, while weightlifting, and he's re-injured that finger now. So he's on the IL. I don't know how long he'll be out, but that was probably Gino's main competition and maybe only competition on that front. So I think he has a fairly clear path to winning it. It just all depends on if those who determine this award actually know ball. And more times than not, they've proven they don't know ball. So
my only question is, has Gino hit enough to win the Gold Glove?
Right.
Because
you think that's a silly question, but it's not.
It's Derek Jeter has a Gold Glove. Juan Soto has a Gold Glove. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has a Gold Glove, and it's not because they can field a ball; it's because they can hit a ball.
It is not.
So, has Gino done enough offensively to win? Probably not. And Chapman, once you have this reputation, it's very hard to unseat you, right? Arenado wins the Gold Glove every single year. Brian Hayes is probably better defensively. It's not egregious that Arenado wins it, but he's statistically, objectively, not the best defensive third baseman. But he hits and he's established, so he wins it. Chapman not hitting this year either, so that's a point in his favor. He got hurt, so Gino can kind of stack some more plays where Chapman can't. And I think his other competition was probably Josh Young, and he's also hurt. So
yeah,
I think he's got a good shot. I think, it's one of those things where it's just tough. And this is where players should have a say, and other coaches and managers should have a say. It shouldn't be up to the writers, because how many of these guys who vote on this award have watched Mariner games, period? Let alone focused in on Gino and what he's doing defensively. I'm not
sure. The Mariners still haven't had a Sunday night baseball game. We talked about this a few days ago.
Right. I mean, the Mariners could put together a great highlight reel and kind of send that out and kind of start a campaign. But at the end of the day, it doesn't, I don't know. I don't know what the metrics say on Gino either. I don't know where he ranks in terms of outs above average and all that stuff, because quite frankly, defensive metrics are garbage anyways. So
they're still very early.
Yeah. They still have a lot of work to do, but Gino has definitely been Gold Glove caliber. He'll probably be a finalist. He'll be one of the 3 finalists. I still think they'll give it to Chapman just because he's Matt Chapman, but I think Gino has earned it. I think he's especially now that just in a vacuum, who's a better third baseman? Chapman. He's a freak defensively. But Chapman's having a little bit of a down year defensively. Gino's having a good year defensively. And now Chapman's going to be out for a couple weeks. The Mariners are the hottest team in baseball. They're collecting a lot of attention recently. Yep. Maybe this is the year for Gino to kind of upset the natural order of things.
Gino's been sick over there. He's been an absolute weapon, and that's helped make up for the loss in offense from last year to this year. So, I mean, he's still been pretty good offensively. It's like a 105 WRC plus guy. That's not exactly what you want, and obviously the power hasn't been present. He's got a 390 slug, which is, you don't want a 390 slug from your third baseman. But he has hit 18 home runs. He obviously had some really bad luck earlier on in the year. He's still been a good player offensively, and defensively just been elite in my opinion. And again, plays like what he did yesterday show that. So yeah, I think he absolutely deserves it. All right, last question of the day here comes from Mark. What do you think the future plans are for Dominic Canzone? Everyday player or 4th outfielder, or maybe even first base? Colby, you and I were talking about this before we hit record. you and I both know that they're gonna force Canzone into an everyday role, at least to start the season next year, right? Like that seems very likely, whether we agree with it or not. Which, yeah, you know, I think Jerry and Justin are gonna try and force the issue on that front. Now, where does he start? I don't know. Could be first base if they move on from Ty France, which is something that you and I both think they should really explore this offseason. Pete Alonso. I know we got a lot of questions about Pete Alonso. You and I have also talked about Christian Walker. You really like him. That would be your preferred choice.
First baseman with 30 home runs and has roughly the same on base as Ty France. What? Upgrade at first. It's possible. Yeah, very much so. But yeah, pretty easily too, I might add, but whatever.
The plan there could be Canzone. It could also be the plan for him is right field if they move on from Teo. Which again, look, I like Canzone. I think he's going to be a good player. We said this during our prospect rankings. Like, I think he's going to be a good player. I'm impressed, especially with his plate coverage, his plate discipline that he's shown at the plate. But the athleticism thing, like, that's still, even with yesterday's catch, which I know you want to talk about. I know you got some thoughts on that you want to share. I'll get to you in just a second on that. But I think he's going to be a good player. But I still think, at least right now, I don't know if there's anything he can really do within the next 6 to 8 weeks that's going to say, like, yeah, he should absolutely unequivocally be an everyday player for this roster heading into 2024. I think he's a great fit to be a rotational player.
Yeah, he can play his way into an everyday role.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, can we stop with he's left-handed Mitch Haniger? You could get away with playing Mitch Haniger in center field, like early in Mitch's career. You want to put Dom Canzone in center field, really? Like, you're comfortable with that?
Explain why you're saying this, because
Canzone's not good, like, defensively.
I know. Yeah, I know you have some thoughts on that play yesterday.
It wasn't a good play. It wasn't, like, when you watch it live, like, oh wow, that's a great play. You know, he laid out.
It's a good recovery. Like, we can say that, right? Yeah,
it is, because you know what happened? Crack of the bat, he freezes for a second. He takes 2 steps in the wrong direction, then realizes, oh, this ball's slicing. Like, 98% of baseballs hit by a right-handed hitter into right field, they slice towards the foul line. That's just physics. He recognizes that, takes 1 step, lays out, makes the catch, and it's like, cool. It looks great on highlight reels and all that stuff. It's not a good play. It's a routine play. It really is. Like, get the right read, get the good jump, and you're going to make that play standing up because you were well positioned. They had you played perfectly. Like, you had him played perfectly, and he still almost missed it. It wasn't a great play. It was a good recovery, and I'm glad he made it. Like, obviously, it doesn't really matter.
The picture is dope. The picture is dope.
Right. And like I said, it doesn't really matter how you make the catch as long as you catch it. Just convert balls that should be outs into outs, and I don't care how you do it. But, like, can we stop with, like, that's like a Mitch Haniger-esque play? No, Mitch is standing there waiting for the ball to hit his glove. Like, even bad Mitch Haniger. Like, last year, Mitch Haniger.
Mitch wasn't a great defender, but yeah.
Well, I mean, not towards the end, but he's better than Canzone. So stop with that comp. It's so lazy. They're both from Arizona. They're both, like, older rookies. Oh, they're the same guy. No, they are not. They most certainly are not.
That's where the comparisons begin and end.
I mean, maybe he can become Mitch Haniger at the plate. I do really like the bat. I do.
Yeah,
and I think for the most part, he's good enough in a corner that the bat is going to just, like,
you can live with him there. You can live with him.
Yeah, he'll be a 45 grade outfielder, and you're just like, fine, whatever. And then as he gets a little bit older, he'll have to move to first because it's just going to get too much of an issue. But wasn't an amazing play. It was a cool play, and it was a great reaction, and it was, like, nice recovery. But
I love the confidence. I was telling you this before we hopped on here. I love the confidence to get up and hit the no-fly zone.
Have like the stones to be like, yeah, that's right, I just made that play. And it's like, yeah, I guess
you did you made the play.
Did catch that ball, but
great recovery athletic recovery, even I would say that. But
I mean, a good athlete wouldn't be in that position to begin with. So I just, whatever,
isn't that more of a mental thing, though? Like, taking the wrong step, all that, doesn't that say less about his athleticism and more about his perception?
I think that's reaction,
whatever.
And reaction is an athletic thing, like quick reaction. So I'm not saying he can't get better either, by the way. You could get better defensively. We've seen it before. And if he's just average, then I think the bat makes him, a 3-4 win player. If he's an average, it has the potential to do that. If you're just an average defender, he's not good. He's not good out there. He's not killing you, right? He's not Mark Trumbo, right? He's not Domingo Santana. Like, he's not that.
Would you say that he is the Kyle Gibson of outfielders, Colby?
I would say he's the Seth Smith of outfielders. As my comp game continues to remain strong, you're welcome, guys. So, like, I've nailed it. I have nailed the last 2 Mariner prospect comps. Absolutely.
I love the timing of this play happening right after we talked about his athleticism. After. Just like, I watched that play, and obviously I was like, holy crap, like, he made that play. That's insane. But also, seriously, Dom, you couldn't even, like, 2 days after we released that show, seriously. And obviously the comments came flooding in, because obviously the first thing that comes to a lot of people's minds now, whenever something that contradicts whatever we've said on the show is, hey, I gotta let them know about it.
Like a normal person does.
Right.
Not a great play. Not a great play. We had a name for a play like that in high school that I don't want to say, because I don't want to call out anybody that, might listen to the show. Probably doesn't, but maybe somebody they know listens to it. And I don't want to drag them, through the mud, but it was a good play because it had to be, because you screwed up. Like, that's what it was. And so, it was fun to watch. And like I said, the reaction is hilarious, because he gets up, like, not only does he hit him with the no-fly zone, he also gets him with the little da-da-da. So it's like, like, okay, whatever, Dominic, like, fine. But come on, guys.
He kind of has some spike to him. I'll say that. The bat drop.
When he's feeling himself, like, he's got that,
taking the no-fly zone, like,
he's got some confidence. He does, but like, I mean,
I'll say this: I am a Dominic Canzone fan. I'm a Dominic Canzone stan. Actually, I'm a Dominic Stanzone, if you will.
How long you been working on that one?
Just now, baby.
Sure. I like Canzone too. I really do. I know, like, whenever I say something slightly negative about a guy, everybody's like, "Oh, Colby hates him." That's not nice. I mean, he hates his guts, and it's like, I don't. I think he's totally fine. I think he's going to be a good hitter. Can we just stop giving him credit for things that he should just do? Like, how close are we to be like, "Oh, did you see him run to first base on that ground ball? Oh, gamer!" Like, we're gonna keep giving him credit for stuff he should just do. Like, that's a routine play that he should have made. He messed up, made up for it, which is all that matters at the end of the day. And then he he's got some swag. He sold it a little bit. Like, good for him. Like, that's a good for him. I like Canzone. I think he's going to be a good player. I don't want him to be an everyday player next year. I don't want him just be, like, handed 600 at bats next year. I want the plan for him to be like a 400 plate appearance guy who maybe has to go down. And if he has to go down, we're okay with that, because we protected ourselves here. But maybe he's a guy who just hits, and we're like, he's got to be in the lineup every day. Lefty, righty, doesn't matter. And DH, first base, left field, right field, we'll find a way to get him in there. Mm-hmm. I want him to play his way into that. I don't want him to be handed that. To circle all the way back to the question, I think they're probably going to try and force that fit. I'm not a fan of that strategy, but we'll see. We'll see what they do.
I would say there's a pretty good chance he enters 2024 as the starting right fielder or first baseman.
Or a left fielder or DH, like
whatever. And
he'll be in the opening day lineup.
I don't agree with it, at least as of today, right?
Right.
I don't think there's anything, again, just to reiterate, I don't think there's anything that you can do within the next 6 to 8 weeks to change my mind on that. But like with Teo, I'm open-minded. Yeah. Maybe.
I think that he is essentially written in pen in the Mariners opening day lineup next year, and I don't think he should be. That's all we're saying.
Agreed. It's good to have you back. It's good to have you back. That's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Trident Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzalez, it's DANEGNZLZ, and Colby at CPAT11, that's CPAT11. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok as well over at Locked On Mariners. That's one word, Locked On Mariners. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. Thank you again for making us your first listen. Again, you can catch the Mariners and the A's tonight on the Mariners hometown broadcast of SiriusXM via the SXM app. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.